In this video, I'm going to show you how to reverse sear a steak in a Weber Go Anywhere, and then later in the video, we're going to make a steak sandwich as well. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is get some lump charcoal or briquettes going. So I'm just going to get a fire lighter down. I just like to use these tumbleweed fire lighters, and then we're going to light it up. And then we're going to get our charcoal chimney on top, which has around 12 briquettes in there. So we now want our briquettes to ash over and become nice and red hot. I reckon that'll take around 10 to 15 minutes. So while that's happening, we're going to prepare our steak. And we're going to be working with a beautiful Scotch fillet or ribeye steak. Now to me, this steak is perfect. We've chosen this one more towards the chuck end as it's got a much bigger rib cap, which is my favorite part of the steak. It's around 1.5 inches thick, so perfect for reverse searing. And the first thing we're going to do, which you don't have to do, is we just want to tie our steak up, and that's going to help keep our steak nice and even. And it's going to stop these ends sort of sagging over and potentially overcooking. Now, if our steak needed a trim, obviously that's the first thing we would do. But for now, we just want to get some cooking twine. We want to go around our steak. And with this end here, just move this steak so you can see a little bit better. We just want to go around both ends, create a loop, go through that loop, tighten that bit off. And then our tag end here, we just want to tie a knot in that to stop the string pulling through on itself. And now we just want to make sure our string is around the middle of the steak, and we can just start working this tight. As you can see, that knot has stopped that string from pulling through. Now that's nice and tight, we're just going to make a loop, go over our tag end, tighten that off, and then we'll cut our string off, and that's ready to season. Now you can just use some salt and pepper, or if you've got any other favorite steak rubs, go ahead and use that, but we're going to go down first with my steak shooter spicy, and then we're going to top it off with my beef bounce rub. And then we'll just roll our steak around on that seasoning I got on the bench, and that'll get our edges. All right, and that is looking good, so let's check on these briquettes. All right, these briquettes are almost ready. I reckon they've got a couple minutes to go, so let's start setting up our Weber Go Anywhere. All right, so the first thing we want to do is just bring our legs over like so. Then we'll lift our Weber up by the side handles, tuck those legs underneath. And then we've just got a little clip we will bring over, and that'll lock our legs together so they won't come apart. And then we'll take our lid off, and then our cooking grate, and then we'll dump our briquettes up one end. Then we'll get our lid on and set our vents up. Now, because our fuel is on this side, we're just going to open the vent on the opposite side. And then with our side vent, we just want to open up this section where our fuel is so that can get oxygen in there. And we want to make sure we do that on both sides. And now we'll just give our Weber Go Anywhere a few minutes to preheat. And after a few minutes, we're ready to get our steak on. But before we do that, I've got a nice little chunk of cherry here. You want to make sure you're just using a small chunk, as we're only using 12 briquettes, and a big chunk will potentially smother your fire. So now we'll take our lid off, get our cherry chunk on, we'll get our cooking grate on, and then we'll get our beautiful steak on the opposite side to where our briquettes are. And then our lid can go back on, and we'll let our steak start cooking away. So we're looking at around 30 to 40 minutes for the first part of this cook, and our smoking temperature, I'm honestly going to be happy if it's anywhere from 225 Fahrenheit or 110 Celsius, right up to 300 Fahrenheit or 150 Celsius. And I'm going to take our steak until it reaches an internal temperature of 125 Fahrenheit or 52 degrees Celsius. Now, when it comes to fire management in a Weber Go Anywhere, it's pretty similar to other barbecues. I'm just going to use the bottom vents to adjust my temperature if need be. If I need to decrease temperature, I'm just going to shut those two bottom vents down slightly. Or if I need to increase, I'll just open them up a little bit more. Now, if you're in a situation where you've adjusted your bottom vents and you still need to decrease your temperature, you can shut your top vents down a little bit, but you run the risk of choking your fire. So make sure you only make little adjustments if you do need to adjust your top vent. Or another thing you can do is put a little water pan in there to help absorb some temperature, and that will bring your temperatures down as well. All right, our steak's been smoking away for about 10 minutes now, and I want to add some caramelized onions to this steak sandwich later on. So in a little fry pan on low heat, I've just got 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to let that melt down while I thinly slice 1 brown onion. And then we'll add our onion in, as well as a big pinch of salt. We just want to cook those onions down on low heat, stirring often for the next 45 minutes or so. While our onions are cooking down, we're going to make a quick herb garlic butter to go on our steak sandwich as well. So in this bowl, I've just got 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just going to finely mince in 2 cloves of garlic. And then we just want to finely chop around a tablespoon worth of flat leaf parsley. And then once your parsley is in, you just want to give that a good mix, and then you can set it aside in the fridge We'll use it later on. So we're just over 30 minutes into this cook and this steak is almost ready to come out for a rest. And I said we're going to reverse sear a steak in a Weber Go Anywhere, so we're going to sear it in there as well. But if you want to make life easier, you can always sear your steak in a pan later on, and that will save you having to light up more charcoal, which is what we're going to do now. So again, we're just going to get a fire lighter down and light it up. But this time we've got around a quarter of a chimney worth of briquettes in there. All right, and a few minutes after we got those fresh briquettes on, our steak has hit temperature. So now we can get that out. We'll get it in some foil and I'll loosely wrap that up. And now we'll let that rest for a good 10 to 15 minutes. And just before we get those fresh briquettes in the Weber Go Anywhere, we're going to swap our pans over, crank the heat up. We're going to spread our beautiful herb garlic butter on a bread roll. And then we just want to toast that off. While that's toasting away, we're going to take our cooking grate off. We'll get our fresh briquettes in. We'll just make sure they're in a nice even pile, and then we'll get our cooking grate back on and let that heat up for a minute. And then now our bread roll is toasted. We can put that aside to use shortly. Now we'll finish our steak off with a sear for around 60 to 90 seconds per side. And then we'll sear off the edges as well. And we'll just keep it moving around so it gets a nice even crust. All right, now we're ready for a flip. Have a look at that color. All right, now we can slice our steak up. So let's take our string off. Looks pretty good to me. All right, let's slice it up and build this steak sandwich. We've got the bottom of our roll. I'm going to go down with some garlic and lime aioli. And then our beautiful steak. And then some cheese. I'm just using some Havarti. We'll just melt that down with the blowtorch. Some of our beautiful caramelized onion, some rocket, and then we'll get our top bun on. And now we're ready to eat. Just want to try a bit of that steak first. That's a good steak. And the other steak sandwich. What a combination that is. There you have it. There's how to reverse sear a steak in a Weber Go Anywhere, and how to make a really nice steak sandwich as well. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, subscribe to the channel because it really helps us out. Give the video a thumbs up, and if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. I'll put everything you need to know down in the video description, so make sure you check it out. But for now, that's the end of the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.